Hey guys, hope you're well. So, tennis on the channel now, and I'm really excited to have with me Venu and Kev. So Venu, if you probably noticed from the cricket channels, and well, Kev from the boxing vids as well. So really happy to have both of you on. And unfortunately, we at this time, in a couple of days, actually, we should have been sitting in the O2 watching some great tennis, which we're unfortunately going to be previewing, but not watching ourselves. Yeah, how are you both doing? You guys good?
I'm good, yeah.
Yep, Venu, yourself?
Yeah, I'm well. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, doing Movember. If you guys are not aware, as you can see, looking pretty good for Movember. So well done so far. Okay, so if you guys don't know, the ATP World Tour Finals is the top 8 players from the year. So just to quickly go through the top 8 players of the year, you've got Djokovic, Nadal, Thiem, Tsitsipas, Zverev, Medvedev, Schwartzman, and Rublev. So those are the 8 players that are going to be contesting this year's ATP World Tour Finals. This is actually the last year it's going to be in London, unfortunately, as well for us. So we're not going to be able to see it next year. It's going to be moved to Turin from next year. So this is quite, well, it's a marquee tournament this year because it's going to wrap up what's been quite a number of years now that it's been in the O2. So they basically split it now, guys, into 2 groups. So it's a round robin tournament, 4 players in each group, and then the top 2 from each group go into semi-finals and then final. So quickly, just to go through the groups, and then I want to get your guys' take on it. So the first group is Group Tokyo 1970, which has got Djokovic, Medvedev, Zverev, and Schwartzman. And the second group, Group London 2020, has got Nadal, Thiem, Tsitsipas, and Rublev. So I just want to get your guys maybe quick 2 cents on maybe what you think of, say, for the first group, Group Tokyo 1970, who you think might potentially win the group and who might be a dark horse or someone you think might actually cause an upset or problems. So the first one is Djokovic, Medvedev, Zverev, and Schwartzman. So Schwartzman is someone who is actually playing his first ATP World Tour Finals this year. He is an endurance player, so it's quite small, but he's very nifty. So gets a lot of balls back. As me and Venu, who both play tennis, know he's that annoying player, Venu, who you'll play really good tennis against, but he's just so solid and he just gets everything back. Not particularly big serve, not particularly big forehand or backhand, decent, solid in everything, but just very quick around the court, gets everything back. And it just can be frustrating to play against if you're not on top of your game. And obviously we've got Zverev, Medvedev, who are big servers, got big ground strokes. And then obviously we know all about Djokovic. So Venu, quickly to you then, what do you think about that group and who do you maybe take as your pick to top the group?
It's a good question, Fizan, to get things started. It's a tough one, really. I think anyone could win that group, considering it's a top 8 that are playing each other, and it's only best of 3 sets. So it could go, it could be anyone could win that on a given day. But I think you've got to go with Djokovic to top that group, and I would say Zverev will at number 2 to the top 2 of that group. But as I've said, it will be probably close to call between. Like Djokovic will go through, I think, but one of those 3 will probably be second place.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think Djokovic is probably a heavy favourite for that group, given his track record winning multiple ATP World Tour Finals, and he plays quite well. Well, he plays well in hard courts, as we know, but considering that he's going to be playing indoors as well, he's got a good record. And Zverev has won here before at the O2 in 2018, where Djokovic was actually the runner-up. Djokovic actually hasn't won it since 2015, but he is very solid, as we know, on that surface. So that's not a bad pick. What about you, Kev?
Well, when you look at that group, obviously you tend to maybe at first think Djokovic will come out first because he's the most well-known. But correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Zverev the one that beat Djokovic last year in ATP?
So he beat him, in 2018. Yes, you're
right. 2
years ago. Yeah, so 2 years ago you beat him.
I was there when I watched that. So that's the thing. That's the interesting thing, that I think Zverev could take the win on that one. but I definitely put Zverev and Djokovic as the top two. Obviously, the other two are still good contenders, but based on performances and based on Zverev's win recently, I'd maybe put him first.
100%. Yeah, I agree. So just to quickly go through Djokovic's results in that final, well, in the ATP World Tour Finals. So he's actually won it 5 times, but as you said, that doesn't say the whole story. It depends. Sometimes matchups, in terms of style of players, like we say in Kev, styles makes fights. In boxing, it's similar in tennis to a degree that some people just have your number. And I think Zverev is obviously very solid against Djokovic. So won it in 2018. Djokovic has won it 5 times, and Medvedev was actually runner-up in 2019, which is he lost in the round robin in 2019. So not particularly solid. And Schwartzman is his first appearance, so you probably don't expect him to go through. Maybe just try and give a solid, account of himself. Right. So the second group, I think, is probably for me the more exciting group. Might be a bit tighter because both, as Venu said, that you've got 8 players who are the best of the best. So anyone can beat anyone on their day. But just to quickly go through it. So as I said, Nadal, Thiem, Tsitsipas and Rublev. This is the group London 2020. So Rublev is making his first appearance here, but he's won 5 titles this year. So he's the person probably in form. Tsitsipas, as Kev, you were talking about winners. So he won it last year, and Thiem was the runner-up last year. So Tsitsipas obviously is coming into this as the reigning champ. And Nadal has actually never won, if you can imagine, has never won an ATP World Tour Finals. Finalist in 2010 and 2013, but never won it. And Venu, as you can tell, is very surprising, and that's fair enough. So I'm going to go to you, Kev, first then. What do you think about this group? Because I think this is a very strong group. Both are, but I think especially this one. Who are your picks?
It is surprising that Rafael Nadal has never won for ATP. I still think Tsitsipas is probably in the top 2 with Nadal, purely because of his win previously and he's a good contender for this. Rublev and Thiem, again, they're still good, but I guess not the most experienced. I think Nadal's got the experience, which even though he hasn't won, will help him massively for the ATP. So I personally put Nadal and Tsitsipas as my top picks for here.
Well, that's fair enough. I can see why you might say that, for sure. One thing that I need to quickly add actually is that Tsitsipas has been struggling with a leg injury that potentially could impact him. I think if he's fully fit, then I think, yes, I 100% agree with you. He's definitely up there. My pick probably would be Nadal and Thiem, just because I think Venu knows, I've discussed with him a little bit. I really like the way Thiem plays. He's quite explosive. A little bit more hot and cold than Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas is very solid, I think. Thiem also struggled with a couple of blisters last month, but I think that should be fine for this tournament, I'd imagine. What about you, Venu? Who's your pick, your 2 picks then for that group potentially?
I think I agree with you, Fazan. I think I'll go with Nadal and Thiem. Considering Thiem is a current US singles champion, I think that would. He's obviously showing some good form on the hard courts. And Nadal, obviously, is the, he won the French Open not so long ago. So obviously, we all know how good Nadal can be, but it's surprising that he hasn't won.
Yeah.
ATP Tour final as of yet. So I think he'll be very determined to get that on his CV, to add to the other trophies that he's got. So yeah, same agree with his Nadal and Thiem into the semis, and it'd be interesting to see who would you say would top that group, Nadal or Thiem?
It's difficult actually. I'm not sure. I think my heart always says Nadal because I'm a massive Nadal supporter. So I always say Nadal for me wanting to win it. But I think realistically, I reckon someone like Thiem or Tsitsipas could easily top that. I think Rublev is a dark horse because he's in form. In terms of winning the whole year, he's been probably very consistent, and he's in big. He's definitely got big form coming into this. I just think that maybe, as Kev alluded to, in terms of experience, Nadal's got that. And as it's the last tournament in London, I do think he's going to really... I'm not to say that he hasn't gone for it in the last few, but I know that he really badly wants to win this. And I just feel like he might do something this year. I don't know if he'll win it, but I just think that he'll get through definitely to give himself a chance and get through this round robin. Do you guys have anything to add about these groups before I just quickly move on to the next?
One question. Why is one group called Tokyo 1970 and another group called London 2020? What's that about?
So I think, from my knowledge, I could be wrong, but 1970 is when the ATP World Tour Finals started, I think, and it was in Tokyo. Now, I could be wrong, but I think that's why they've named it. And then 2020 obviously is this year, and it's the last year they're going to do London. But I mean, I could be wrong. But yeah,
It's
that's
probably
why I
like a
think they've named it.
milestone. Sort of
It's
thing.
a milestone, exactly. Yeah. So that's why they've done it. It's 50 years, between them. But yeah, so I think they're both very good teams, obviously. Well, groups even, and they're going to be exciting. So it starts on Sunday. So I just want to get your guys' quick take on the first two matches, and then maybe just press you guys for a winner of the whole tournament, just to preview. So in the first match on Sunday in the afternoon session, we've got Thiem and Tsitsipas. So Venu, who's your pick for that match? And maybe just a quick few words on why.
I would say it's Thiem. Wasn't that the final of the US Open?
Thiem and Tsitsipas?
Yeah.
That was the final of last year's ATP World Tour Finals.
Oh, I see. Okay. And who came on top on that one? Was it Thiem?
Tsitsipas.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, so I think he was actually the underdog last year, to be fair, but he came on top. Thiem faces Zverev in this year's US Open final.
Okay. I would say Thiem to win that game.
Yeah, well, fair enough. How about you, Kev? Who are you going to go for in that?
Did you say between Tsitsipas and Thiem?
Correct, yeah.
I think Tsitsipas. I think he'll be able to repeat what he did before and beat him. But like you mentioned about the leg injury, this is where it could change things. But I'm still gonna go with the defending champion, Tsitsipas.
Solid, no, that's fair enough. We'll see. I think I'm gonna go with Thiem, but I think that's a very, very tough one to call. I think it could definitely go either way. I really do like Tsitsipas as well. Venu, you'll love this because it's the battle of the one-handers as well, Thiem versus Tsitsipas. So, yeah, I mean, if you watch that, I'm sure you'll enjoy watching that with your one-hand backhand and seeing how you can improve on that. Nadal versus Rublev is the other match. That's the evening session. Kev, first to you then. What do you think? Nadal versus Rublev. Who have you got for that?
I think any sort of any sort of match when Nadal's playing, I'd want to go to him. But Rublev has actually won the last won 5 titles in 2020. So he's on a bit of a streak, isn't he? He's doing really well. So I think he's an up-and-coming contender. This is actually a really tough one to call, purely because obviously Nadal's better at sort of solid courts, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, on clay. Yeah. The one thing that I'd say about Nadal is that he struggles. The reason why I think he has never won an ATP World Tour final is because these courts tend to be a lot quicker indoors. And on hard courts is not really his natural surface.
Yes.
We know that he's so good on clay, and that's a softer surface where the ball bounces more and it's slow. It's a lot slower as well. Whereas here it's quicker and it doesn't bounce as much. So his heavy topspin game isn't quite as effective. So I think if Rublev's going to have any chance to beat Nadal on a surface, it's probably going to be here. But in saying that, what were you going to say? Who do you think is going to win?
You know what? I'm actually going to go for Rublev, considering of his 5 titles in 2020. He's on a bit of a streak. And yeah, I think he's definitely up and coming. I know it's his first time actually competing for these finals, isn't it? So it's
it is.
It is new to him. But I think because of that, he'll probably, give it his all. He wants to make a performance, a good first impression.
Step up. Yeah.
Yeah, he has to step up to the experienced people. So I might actually, you know what, I'm tending more for Rublev.
Nice, I like that. Little left field choice. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
The thing is, you're right about Rublev in terms of him being up and coming. So there's quite a number of players this year that are under the age of 24. So does that make us feel old? I think it does. It definitely makes me feel old. That there's quite a number of them under 24. So I think Tsitsipas, Zverev, Rublev, and Medvedev are all under 24. And so I mean, it makes me feel like we're all in our mid-20s, and I'm like, oh, okay, this
Yeah.
is now the norm. People playing elite tennis tournaments, and the majority of them are younger than us. But yeah, I agree. I think that's not. I say it's a left field choice, but Rublev is definitely the guy in form, so I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. What about you, Venu?
It's a tough one. Yeah, let's go with Kev, because I just want to go with Kev for once. So
For once, yeah.
Rublev. Let's go with Rublev. And Kev, if he loses, it's your fault, mate.
Not yours, just mine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. After you'll be like, yeah, but I only got that wrong because of Kev. It's not because of me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly.
But if he gets it right, that's because of him, apparently.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Fair
Okay,
point.
so given your answers on these matches as well, so who's your pick then for winning the tournament? It's a difficult one because, as we know, obviously, look, I mean, it depends what happens in their first matches, and people do, even though it is only a week, you can easily gain form after a match or two, and go on to win it. And it's not just about who's necessarily the best tennis player in general. It is a lot of it is to do with who's good on that week. But if you had to pick someone to win, then I want to go with you first. Who would you go with?
I'll go for Djokovic, Novak. I'll go for Novak,
Okay.
considering he's a experienced campaigner.
Mr. Elastic.
Yeah, Mr. Elastic. He has won. How many has he won?
5. He's won 5.
He's won 5.
Yeah.
Federer's got the most, I think, but obviously Federer's not in this. So I'm going to have Djokovic.
Okay. Yeah, so Federer is actually out. Sorry, I forgot to mention he's out with an injury. So unfortunately, no Federer. But yeah, that's a solid choice for me. I think he's probably the favourite going into this tournament, even though he hasn't won it for 5 years. I think just the surface. I think you can't sleep on the other players like Tsitsipas and Team and even Medvedev, etc., because they're all very good on the surface as well. And Nadal, obviously, we know how competitive he can be. But what about you, Kev? Who do you think?
You know what? I still want to say Zverev to win this one, purely because of what I've seen in his performances before, especially his win 2 years ago. I think he's one of those people that hasn't had so many wins because he hasn't had so much experience. But if you look at his serves, the power and the speed of his serves, especially on this court, I think that gives him a huge advantage. So I'm tempted to say Alexander Zverev.
No, that's another sort. Is there a little bit of not? I'm not going to say emotional choice, but obviously because you've seen him in the flesh, do you think that in a way does definitely, I guess, is that in the back of your mind a little bit because you've seen how good he is, obviously?
You know what? I think so because you got to remember that I saw him against Djokovic. It's not like I saw him against an average opponent. I saw him against one of the best, and I'm not going to lie. From where I was sitting, he made Djokovic just seem like not number one. Made him seem like a normal or maybe average contender. So based on that, I want to actually give him the edge. But obviously, it's just one match that could have just been a fluke or a bad day for Djokovic. But yeah, maybe it is a bit of an emotional thing considering I've seen it.
It's just interesting, isn't it? Because I do agree with you that sometimes when you see someone in the flesh, you realize how good they are. I feel like when you see them on TV, there is a degree of that's amazing. But I feel like when you're actually there, you realize how hard they hit the ball, like how much clearance there's over the net, for example, how much topspin they put on it, how much they move. Like a lot of the times, like you watch on the TV, you're like, oh wow, how did they get there? But when you actually see them move, you're like, oh wow, they're so quick. Like just getting to the ball, etc., and how quickly they serve, etc. But yeah, no, that's I can see why he would win as well. To be honest, he's had a very good run on hard courts in general, and I think he would. He's obviously won it before, so it's not something that is definitely out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
For me, it's difficult. It is really difficult because I just think I would love Nadal to win it because he's never won it, and I'm a massive Nadal fan. But I think my heart tells me Nadal, my head probably tells me it's going to be someone. I don't think it's going to be Djokovic. I'm going to agree with you, Kevin, that I don't think it's going to be Djokovic. I think I'm going to go with Team, actually. I think he's going to hit some form, and I reckon he'll win it. Runner-up last year, and obviously, as Venu said, US Open champion. I just think he might have a little bit about him, but we'll see. We'll see. I want Nadal to win, so I think for me, it depends on the first matches. If Nadal looks like he's a type of player that if he looks good the first match, I think yeah, that's it, he's on. But if he maybe loses it, if he loses it, then I just think it's going to be tough, especially in this round robin. It's not easy. And actually, just to mention for the round robins, if there's players who are on the same number of points who are second and third, then it comes down to head-to-heads. So, for example, if like Nadal and team are second and third, then it's whoever won their match basically will go through to the semis. Okay, cool. Well, I think I'm done. Do you guys want to add anything before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Should be great. Shame we can't be there, but yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree because I think, especially with you, Gazan, because we play so much tennis at club level.
Yeah.
And it would have been my first experience seeing the pros play at elite level and see what the difference like cricket.
Yeah.
Going to cricket matches, you kind of see the difference, especially on the field, how they move, especially with the batting, how far they can hit the ball. But I think if we went next week, I would have been blown away. So when you mentioned that, both of you, I kind of think, you know what, that would have been really good. Like if I be a backhand winner from these guys, one hand backhand winner down the line, that would make my day. But it's a shame, but it is what it is, isn't it?
And considering it's the last one in London as well, so this would have probably been our last shot to watch.
You know what, guys? Next year, let's go to Turin.
Turin, holiday.
Why not?
Lads, holiday.
Just to watch it.
We'll just go to Wimbledon.
Yeah. Just to watch it. Why not? Yeah, Wimbledon. Yeah, but you know, it's in a way, I haven't gone to loads and loads of tennis matches, but what I was lucky to witness is actually the year after Federer won Wimbledon, the first year he won it, because I was like a junior at the time, or part of the junior program. Basically, I got to see him training the following year as champion. So I saw him training like right by the practice court, like a little Fazan. I was, I don't know, like how I would have been like 11 or 12 or something maybe. And I went with my mum, and he was training just before. I don't remember exactly what age. I might be wrong, but he was training. So that's the year after. So the first year he won it. So the second year he came back and he was champion. And I just saw him training, warming up on the practice court, and I was like, whoa, like this is just incredible. Even at that age, it really like sticks in my brain, like how good he was. And obviously, probably he will be regarded as one of the greatest ever, but just incredible experience. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm done. Anything else you want to add?
That's everything from me.
Yeah, perfect.
Thanks,
okay. Well, thanks very much, guys,
Thanks
for being
so much, man.
Game set match from me.
No worries. Game set match. Yeah. You know what? I might sign off like that then.
Why are you stealing my ideas for?
What's that? Well. Okay, fine. I'll leave it to you. I'll leave it to you when you're on then.
Court violation,
exactly.
Court violation.
Oh, yeah. Guys, this was really ace. So thank you very much for being on. and yeah, thanks guys for watching as well. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, comment, and share. And also click the notification button if you haven't, just to make sure you get all the latest notifications for these vids. As I said, I'm covering tennis. I'll be covering the ATP World Tour Finals, and I'm still covering boxing and cricket as well, so don't worry. Maximum effort from all three sports. Okay, thanks very much, guys. I will speak to you guys soon, and everyone at home, stay safe. Thanks very much.